It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the DeltaCo Fireteam chat. This is Krakenfall and I'm here with No Face.
Hello.
We don't have audio with us today. He's feeling under the weather, and Ronan just utterly refused to come on. I was quite insulted.
To be fair, he is a pretty classy person, and so I can understand why he wouldn't want to be associated with us. So I will give him the pass on that one.
Yeah, I just pushed him just up to the glove in the face challenge to a duel. So I think we're okay. It's been a big week for Destiny 2. There's been a lot that's happened. We had Curse of Osiris release. We had the December 5th update from the state of the game. And we had the whole Prometheus lens debacle. So we've got a lot to cover. But first, how was Destiny this week?
So for me, it was pretty awesome. Like, I really had a pretty decent time in Destiny this week. I know there's a lot of salt blowing around, and I know I'm probably not the person you would expect to hear say that they had a good time. But honestly, this week for me, been pretty spectacular. I've enjoyed the new DLC, and I'll elaborate more on that when we get to there. But I have enjoyed Destiny this week.
That's pretty awesome. I unfortunately can't say the same. I mean, I'm not.
You've been hating it, haven't you?
No, I mean, I'm not embroiled in the salt. Like, I've been reading Reddit, and you know, it's actually a pretty good sign that Reddit posts, like, there's a lot of engagement there. Like, I see 6K, 4K posts all over the place, and there's probably like 4 or 5 a day at least, which means there's either the same 4,000 people upvoting it, or there's a larger audience. Anyway, that was a tangent.
No, it's the same 4,000, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that died off in year 3 Destiny.
Oh.
I mean, like, there was, I think, maybe 1,500 upvotes was the highest we could get in a week.
Right.
But
the Destiny Reddit, actually, I will see stuff on like the front page of our all. So yeah, there's a lot of engagement.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's a positive point. It's our first point of the day, and it's positive. But
man, look at us, the two of us being positive. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, the negative duo. But I got on the day of. I was feeling pretty crappy that day, so I went home a little early and loaded up Destiny. And I don't know. I mean, I just wasn't digging it. Not that I wasn't digging the story and the campaign. I felt no impetus to play. Like, I logged in. I went straight to the place. I think it was Ikora that you needed to go to, and I just started. I did, I think, the first 3 or 4 missions. I played for a good 3 hours. And I mean, because I'm a optimizer, so like as soon as I have fresh content, I find out how to optimize my progression through it. And so I think I spend a little bit too much time on that, because the real reason I was excited for Curse of Osiris is the lore. And so the first thing I do is ignore it. So I'm gonna have to go back and play that. But the Infinite Forest was not that fun. All we're doing is shooting trash mobs that we've fought for the last 4 years or 3.5. And that was not that enjoyable from a pure mechanics standpoint. But like I said, I'm gonna have to get in and really dig into the story, because Osiris is probably my favorite lore character ever.
Most definitely. And I have to, you know, having completed the campaign, gone into some of the quote unquote in-game stuff in Curse of Osiris, I will completely admit to you that the first time, yeah, you go through the Infinite Forest, you're like, okay, this is kind of interesting, this is neat. But like the third or fourth time, you're like, oh, for sake, how far can I jump? Can I skip this last section? Can I make it to the tower without actually having to do it? Which is why part of the reason I was like, man, if I had my Blade Dancer still, I bet you I could jump and like Blade Dance my way across this like chasm and get there. Because I'm sure, like technologically, like coding wise and anything like that, I'm sure it is a absolute marvel what they were able to accomplish with it. I'm sure it was like a really big task for them. gameplay wise, it kind of underwhelming is what I'll say. Probably underutilized too.
I heard a YouTuber call it like a tech demo that made it into the final game. But
Right.
as far as gameplay goes, it's pretty uninspiring. I did, like, for the first couple sections, I was all looking at all the new textures and I was looking at the skybox, and it's beautiful and
Oh
really
yeah,
cool. But then,
it's
like,
like
when I was like, okay, I need to get on and play the game, like, it was just, okay, well, I headshot this and I shoot that Vex in the tummy and I shoot that, Cabal guy in his face, and it's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Okay, where is it going to go next? Okay, let's get there as the fast as I can. It was just a little bit monotonous, but I'm looking forward to playing the rest of the story.
yeah, and like again, like all the normal people at Bungie that do like again, I have this idea of Bungie being like this multi-headed Hydra kind of thing where they all are really good at their individual jobs, and so yeah, like the music, the visuals, like the level design, all that sort of stuff are freaking amazingly well done. Even the Infinite Forest is really really well done, like in its design and concept and everything like that. But then when you try and plug all these things together, that's in my opinion where it's always kind of gone haywire, because the Infinite Forest should not be as prominent in the game as it is. And if it was going to be, they should have done something more with it instead of just having it be a bridge. I feel like some sort of like, if they set it up where basically it went in circles and you just had to, like, you and your fire team tried to fight your way through as many circles as you possibly could, progressively more and harder enemies kind of thing. So, like a horde mode.
Yeah, that would have been cool. In that vein, like for the Infinite Forest, because they did really well job of like seaming together, or not seaming, but connecting these blocks together. They're blocks. It's like, from door to door.
Mm.
They could have connected like 6 of those or 8 of those together, and you have to find your way. And like maybe they could have done something where you have a way to find out where, like a trace that you can follow, or like a certain pattern and like beeping lights that you could follow.
So
anything.
you're thinking like a labyrinth kind of thing.
Kind of. I mean, that's what it is, right? If you're talking about infinite probabilities that they're simulating, that's lore-wise and just like like mathematically significant. So they could have given that some kind of mechanic analog. So I don't know.
No, I can go with that. I think that the general consensus among the two of us and the general population of Destiny players is that the Infinite Force is cool, but it's definitely overutilized and like in the game for what it is, and then underutilized as far as its potential could be what they could have used it for.
Yeah, it's like the Trials introductions. It's really cool the first time, and maybe the second time and third time.
And then after that,
No
you just
one
want a
wants to
list.
see that. Yeah.
Like by the time, like by now, everyone's just like, okay, just give me a table, like give me their username and then what they're using. Like that's all I need.
Yeah.
And I don't even play Trials, and I know that it's annoying because I've watched streams.
Yeah, it pads the game with like I think a mandatory minute at the beginning. It's annoying. Never getting that time back. But let's move on.
Because we're not getting any of this time back either.
Yeah. There's a bunch of updates. The December 5th update hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember the specifics. I can bring that up in a sec. But at the very least, we had some vendor updates. I know Rahul was selling Legendary Engram. We had what's Banshee selling some mods.
Mm-hmm.
What are we thinking about that?
So in my opinion, as far as that stuff goes, again, it's very minimally changing the game. I mean, it is really, really, really nice to go into a vendor, whether it's Shaxx or Banshee or anybody like that, and see, oh, hey, here's like armor or ornaments or whatever I can buy down the road as soon as I hit certain levels or anything like that. But again, it's not a huge deal. Like, it's the same thing, as in like Destiny 1, buying an engram from Rahul. It's going to decrypt to something at a light level that is going to be basically the same that you are anyway. So
right.
It's not,
no
it's
progression.
not a huge boon. I'm guessing if there's a certain piece of gear that you're trying to get and you just like playing slot machines or whatever, I guess it's cool. But the rest of the vendors, I do like the fact that you can buy specific mods, you can buy specific armor, things like that. So I think it is a good update for sure.
Can we buy specific armor yet? I thought that hadn't hit.
Oh, well, so, sorry, I'm saying armor because I'm thinking about the ornaments. Like, if you go to Shaxx,
okay.
He has, like, the specific ornaments and everything, and it tells you what it is. I don't know that you necessarily buy them, because you have to go, like, do so many things in the Crucible or whatever to earn them. And then I don't know if you have to pay for them to, like, so many shards or whatever to get them on your character or not.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, I've literally run, like, 3 matches in PvP so far, so I really... I haven't earned very many of those ornaments yet.
Yeah. I would be more excited about the ornaments if I had a reason to play. Those in and of themselves are not enough reason for me to get on and play a couple matches of Crucible or something. The experience, especially with the Prometheus lens, which I need to go get from Xur just to have it because I don't have it yet. Like aside from the Prometheus lens, it's a pretty painful. It's probably easier to go to my dentist than play Destiny Crucible right now because of how boring and monotone the gameplay is. But
so this is what I'm going to tell you. I picked up my Prometheus lens today, and honestly, you need to go pick it up and go straight to PvP, because the first game I played, like these are the 3 games I've played like in PvP. It's stupid. Like the first game I got in, I've played like 3 games, and 2 of the 3 have been with Prometheus lens. The first game I got in, it was me and one other guy, and we were on the same team together, running around Prometheus lens, just melting people. Like we paired up, and like we didn't know what the rest of our team was doing. Like they could have been sitting in a corner. And me in PvP potato, right? I normally average probably about like a 0.9 KD or something like that.
Yeah.
3.0 or better for both of those games, KD. It was
How is that?
Spectacular.
Not everyone can have 3.0 KDs, so like how's that working out with, lens against lens?
So that's the thing. The first game, only me and this other guy on my team had the Prometheus lens, and so we just wrecked shop on the other team. Like we just annihilated them, and they were actually pretty good players. Like some of them, like a guy sniped me, for crying out loud. Like I came around a corner and he just headshotted me, and it happened more than once. But so the next game I got in there, and it was pretty fun. But I saw lasers everywhere. Like, they were just going all over the place. So, I was able to actually kind of just hang back and wait until, like, the mayhem went on around me and just, like, basically steal other people's kills.
Yeah.
So, I just kind of hung in the back of my fire team and just, like, would sweep back and forth across the other team and steal kills. And it was pretty cool. Like, it's a very big change from what you're used to.
Yeah. I don't know. So, on the one hand, that's pretty awesome. On the other hand, any casual like population that Bungie is trying so hard to get people to play is going to be gone because one, either they won't know about Xur and get that and just see that everyone is slaying and then leave and get pissed off because, the game is unfun if you don't have that. On the other hand, again, like I'm going to pick it up, but I don't want to go in there and have fun playing with this overpowered weapon that I know is the kind of experience that I wanted, only to have Bungie nerf that thing into the ground and then there be no fun experiences that I know that I was looking for. Like, that's just going to get my hopes up, and Bungie isn't seeing, like, unless they prove me wrong after the December 12th update or the next sandbox tuning update, they want things to be low potency, low utility. They want everyone to be they want everyone to be operating on the lowest common denominator rather than having wildly diverse fun, like tools at hand. So like anybody can use, like before it was like Titans, right? Everyone had different abilities and they were fantastical and godlike, yet since everyone had their own style of ability, like it was in a way balanced. ability spam was never a problem in my opinion. The streamers that were ultra competitive, this is their fault. Like,
And they're the ones complaining now.
yeah, and they're the ones complaining now. Like, they don't know what they want. They were just annoyed that when it came to the upper tier of competition, that they had to contend with these hugely powerful abilities. Like, but everywhere else, I mean, I would even make an argument that that's okay in the upper competitive tier because it gives diversity. It gives, um, clutch plays. Like, anyway, I'm ranting right now, and I understand that. I'm on a tangent, but I'll finish it up. For everyone else, it was a blast, and that is what we lost with Destiny 2, and that is the biggest thing, in simply put, that I'm missing from Destiny 2, is that I am, a half fermented potato in Destiny, no matter how well I play. And if I don't have a team that's on board with winning, then it's just torture. So if I get the Prometheus lens, it will be fun for, say, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's 3 days.
So
But that's it.
Well,
it's
there's
gonna
just
go.
a couple of things that I want to point out. One, I don't know the exact time by any stretch of the imagination, but I think we made it a solid 15 minutes before we became insanely negative. So that's probably a record for us.
No, I mean, I was going to talk about that anyway, but and I
Right.
wouldn't consider that negative. It's looking at the reality. It's
I'm not
the
negative, I'm a realist.
no, it's the lead blanket that's laying on my massive Destiny addiction.
Heart. Right. No, and I agree. Like, okay, let's be honest. Like, the Prometheus lens is okay. It's overpowered. It's not like ridiculous. Like, it's not just absolutely stupid where you're not, you just basically like sweep it across them once and it kills them. It kills people pretty fast. I'm not gonna lie. It kills people pretty fast. It is way out of line with the rest of the weapons. Now, what I will say is, yeah, I would rather see everything else get brought up to that level rather than see Prometheus lens nerfed. But yeah, I know. I even said it. I said it out loud while I was playing. I was like, "Oh man, I would hate me so much right now in the game where I was playing against where no one else had a Prometheus lens." I was like, "I would hate me so much right now."
Oh yeah. And I remember the Mythoclast days. I
Oh,
remember
God.
being on the end of that because I didn't get my Mythoclast until what I think it what was after House of Wolves? Was that Taken King? I got it right before Taken King.
Oh wow.
So I never got to play the Mythoclast, broken game. And I was really salty, and I actually stopped playing Crucible during that time until they fixed that.
Well, I never got a Mythoclast. Period.
What?
Yeah.
Did you play Vault of Glass very often?
Yeah, I did. But never got a Mythoclast. I got like probably 30 Fate Bringers or something like that, and
Oh
never
wow!
got a Mythoclast.
No, I got 2 Fatebringers. Ever.
I know. I sharded or dismantled whatever. A very non-zero number of Fate Bringers.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, all of this talk of random rolls and all the systems that we love about Destiny, and some people love and some people hate. Like, I'm processing that, and I think that we're all processing that as we go on and continue this discussion about Destiny 2. But that's actually what I like about the random rolls, or not the random rolls, but the RNG situation. Like, you never got the Mythoclast. I never got, like, I didn't get Gjallarhorn until the very end of its usefulness.
Yeah, I was the same way.
I didn't get the Fatebringer until I think the Taken King.
Oh wow.
Or I think it was like a month and a half before the Taken King. So like it was useful for me for maybe 40 days that I was playing Crucible and Nightfalls and stuff. But like that's a variety of experience, and I don't think variety is bad necessarily. I mean, if you are super adamant that you get everything, like if, for the completionist, I recognize this sucks, but I am out for a great experience, and I'm willing to sacrifice completionism or the completionist attitude for that great experience. So
All right, so and I'm gonna move us backwards a little bit, I guess, or touch on something I already talked about. Not to spoil anything for you, because I know you haven't completed the campaign.
Yeah.
The campaign, in my opinion, the campaign itself is actually pretty good. So like this great experience you're looking for, honestly, the final mission, in my opinion, is really pretty good. The like as far as like mechanics of the boss fight and all that sort of stuff, there are some really fun. There are some. I found them fun. I'm sure other people didn't, but I don't know the right word. I think well designed
Sure.
adventures right after the campaign. So I think if you're looking for like that great experience, honestly, for the it took me about 3.5 hours to finish the campaign solo, and then another couple hours to get through all of the adventures and the heroic adventures as well. So for that, like 6 to 8 hours of doing like just basically those core missions and anything like that, honestly, I think this is a very good experience, especially when you consider the fact that we paid like $20 for it.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good. So I don't think you're going to be super disappointed by the well, actually there's some very specific things I know will disappoint you, but I'm not going to tell you what they are. So
probably lore related.
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
So I'll when you get there, you can tell me what you think what you think I think you were going to be disappointed in. Yeah.
I'll tell you what you think that I thought that I might have thought you were talking about.
Exactly. Anyway. So,
cool.
Are we done being positive?
Take it away.
Okay. So, that was basically not everything good about the the game. So, obviously, again, I really like the DLC, again, especially when we couched it in the fact that like it was a $20 DLC. I think it was better than Crota's End, which again that's not exactly a high bar, but I think it was better than Crota's End. I think it introduced some stuff that will be useful, will end up being cool, like the ornaments, all that sort of stuff. However, a lot of the things that kind of came with the DLC, one, they kind of screwed some people, and we now have the end game is the spend game, as has been said on Reddit repeatedly.
You're talking about the DLC lockout?
Yeah, so the first thing, we talk about like the DLC lockout. So they took, like one of the things they did is they took the raid, and they moved it up to 300. The normal raid. So now if you didn't buy the DLC, there is no way for you to do the prestige raid. So those people are locked out of the prestige raid, which I understand why Bungie did this. They were trying to quote keep things relevant. Keep the they didn't want the raid to no longer be relevant because you were so you were getting underpowered items. You were so over leveled it didn't matter.
Mostly they don't want people to access the raid lair without having paid for the DLC, and since they don't have an elegant enough system to be able to lock out that kind of thing, they just, carte blanche, lock it all out.
No, they can still access the normal level raid.
But not... Oh, really?
Yeah, you can still, like, if you didn't buy the DLC, you still have access to the Leviathan raid.
Oh.
The normal Leviathan raid.
Prestige,
you cannot access Prestige, though.
Well, that's what Reddit was responding to. There was a huge thread talking about how you can get refunds because they locked the prestige achievement behind the DLC. So there was a couple hundred people trying to get refunds, and a lot of them succeeded.
Well, because the other thing, it locked out the Nightfall or the Prestige Nightfall, the Prestige Raid. Basically, any Prestige level event you're locked out of. And in my opinion, like that's not a huge deal, but it goes back to the whole fact that maybe, just maybe, had Bungie said this, I don't know, a week ago, a month ago, right? People wouldn't be so upset. They'd still be upset, but like, again, this whole like transparency thing, like, how did you forget to mention that little detail? Like, what's going on, Bungie? Like, why? Why did you decide that that was going to be something you didn't need to tell people.
Well, and that just rolls into the classic Bungie style communication, which is to say that they don't communicate. I don't. They get the impression that they can just do things with their game that millions of people love and not say a thing about any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't get how you can be okay, or like be okay with thinking that customers would be okay with that kind of thing. And it's either those thoughts aren't happening, which suggests some severe management issues, like management of PR and marketing and development to marketing communications. Like, there's a whole pipeline of communications from the developer decisions and the design decisions to the public, what should be filtered and then what is communicated. Like, that whole railroad is just not there or not working. And that's pretty indicative of like the rest of the communications in the rest of Bungie just sucks at communicating. And even their latest state of the game, like, I think we were pretty positive about it in that whatever episode of the podcast it was, but it's really not any different than how they've communicated in the past. They're just doing it now instead of not doing it. Like in Destiny 1, we would get that every once in a while, maybe 3 months. And people would, complain about the 3 months, but at least it was happening. We forced it out of them this time. We meaning the player base. Yeah.
So, not to make this feel crazy, but that was last week, man. A week ago. A week ago is when we were having like these huge communication issues, and then in less than a week, Bungie has managed to show that they don't communicate well again.
It's just fallout from the whole non-communication period between launch and, because they knew they were going to lock that stuff out.
Oh yeah.
Like the prestige stuff existed in the vanilla game. Like, of course they knew. So that's a failure from the vanilla, like from launch. So yeah, it's just coming up now because everyone's looking for it, in my opinion. And as we should. Any good community for an ongoing pay-as-you-go, which is essentially what we're turning into, like business model, like game, I mean, should be holding the developer accountable to this stuff. Like, and these are stupid practices. Like, locking people out of content that they paid for already is stupid. Luke Smith was saying, yeah, we should have communicated that. We didn't do a good job. No, this is what he said. I think this is what he said in Destiny 1.
Repeatedly?
Yeah.
This is what he said for the past 3 years?
Yeah, which is, I'll finish the sentence. We did a bad job of communicating to the players what was going to happen after the DLC came out, and we did a bad job of communicating what part of the game that the players own, which is just another stupid thing. Like the whole, well, I won't go into that, but
no,
yeah,
we can just say
stupid.
I don't know why they let Luke Smith talk. Like I don't know why. He never comes out with a good statement on his own.
He and his management colleagues in Bungie just come off as the most arrogant, like not self-important, but self-absorbed. Like, oh, we're Bungie. We have a long history in providing grade A experiences for players, and so whatever we say and decide is textbook, like best practices. Like,
right.
That's how it comes off, which is completely not true, and they've effed it up time and time again. And yes, Destiny 1 was a circus show for fixing it over 3 years because of people leaving at the last year of development and that whole Kotaku story. But you guys aren't. You aren't the best in the industry. And your game was amazing to play. And there was a lot of reasons for that, but I don't think you guys get why that is. Because your decisions for Destiny 2 have obviously shown that your presuppositions about how the game works and how the players receive it and what is fun and what is not fun. Like, you guys don't know. At least that's okay. I'm like letting off some steam here, so I'm gonna pull back a little bit. But
So, and this is not to defend Bungie, really. Just the creative process in general is what I'm going to comment on, and then I'm going to transition a little. So, Bob Dylan had a quote where he says, he said, "Never create anything unless you want it to be misunderstood." And I really think that's kind of what Bungie did. They said, like, especially with Destiny 2, they said, we want to make this game, and they had this vision for this game, and then they released it to a bunch of people who didn't want that game. And, like, it's not that their game was wrong or bad, but the player base that they were releasing it to, had it been, like, some, if they just called it, like, wait, they can't call it Fate, that's already a game, isn't it? If they had something completely different.
right.
If it was a different game, honestly, I don't think we would be having this conversation. If Bungie had released a completely different IP, we wouldn't be having this conversation. People would have played it, they would have liked it, they would have put it down, they would have moved on, they would have come back to the DLC, kind of like Bungie intended. But they released it to the Destiny crowd. And you're absolutely right, they did not cater it to why people loved Destiny 1. They catered to what they wanted, what they created. They were like, this is my creation. And they released it to a bunch of people who were like, well, I don't understand this. This isn't the creation that we had in Destiny 1. Like, what is all this sort of stuff? So they definitely released it to the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, honestly, on the whole, like, it's not a bad game. Absolutely not a bad game. But it is not the game that it is not an improvement from Destiny 1. It is not a Destiny 1-esque game, if you will.
Well, and that's the fundamental issue, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that it's supposed to be. They called it
Right.
Destiny. It's Destiny 1's DNA is in Destiny 2. There's so many, like, from the story to the characters to the gameplay mechanics, like, it is, without a shadow of a doubt, Destiny. I mean, you could take other games, for instance, like Mass Effect series. Like, between the different games, they were wildly different. The systems were shook up every single release. The story was, solid quality. That was consistent. It kept the core of what Mass Effect was, from in the trilogy, at least 1, 2, and 3. Like, it kept the core of what it was. So, the customers recognized, this is different, and the systems are different, and maybe it's a little less RPG like as we go along in the series. But it's Mass Effect, and we recognize that. Destiny 2 took so many changes that I don't know that we can necessarily call it Destiny, because why do we play, right? We played for so long because we had rewards that were meaningful. We had things to chase after the entire time. I don't think there was a time in Destiny, maybe Destiny year 3, I had less chance to play. But then at that point, I had people to play for. So that was what I was playing for. And I was logging in because the game was still fun. It was still, like, adrenaline inducing to play. I could get into, clutch situations any game. Even games that's, like, hopelessly outnumbered by this, the skill of the other team. Like, you still get into those situations, and then in the raids, you can still get into the situations where, he's slivered, that boss is slivered, and we just entered the damage phase, we're about to exit the damage phase, 5 of our guys are down, oh my gosh, one of our guys pulled out a clutch kill with, Galahorn, and all the last of the Wolfhound, or the Wolfpack round, hit him and brought him down, and we're all screaming, and no one can tell what we're saying. Like, they took all of that stuff out. And I don't see how they couldn't have recognized that they did that.
So, this is what I'll say. Since you touched on raids and things like that, I have a blind raid coming up here in like an hour. Actually, more than that, because I'm just not going to sleep tonight. And so I haven't looked at anything about the raid. I haven't stepped in the raid, anything like that. The topics on Reddit have basically said that the raid is very, very good. So,
good.
Yeah, so that is, and that can be something, honestly, that really, really saves this DLC. If the raid is really good, honestly, I will keep raiding even if I have absolutely everything from that raid. Like if I have
Yeah.
every piece of armor, every weapon, because I didn't D1. I think Crota's End, I got everything except like an icebreaker or something. And I still raided because I really enjoyed that raid. And so hopefully that's the case where regardless of reward, it's fun enough that people want to come back and play it over and over again. And that's the general impression I'm kind of seeing online, is that people really like the raid.
Well, that is awesome, and that is fantastic to hear. And that had to have been premeditated, so it's not something they changed recently because of the uproar. And if that's the case, maybe that's a tick in favor of Bungie.
So the post that I saw on Reddit said, whoever made the raid, put them in charge of everything.
That's awesome.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
well, I'm a little excited to play. I mean,
Watch it
I
be
have
some casual that made that post, and it doesn't apply to us at all.
Oh, well, that's neither here nor there. Hopefully,
I know.
hopefully it is good. Because at this point, I have stopped playing Destiny so much that I'm not even picking up Curse of Osiris for PC, at least right now, and I don't expect to in the next month or two. So I
I'm
have
okay
the season
with that, 'cause
pass.
that's going to force you to play on console.
Well, yeah, that's the only way I can progress. But I mean, in the Discord that I share with some of my Trials guys, they're like, "Hey, do you want to play Trials?" And I was like, "That would require me to buy Curse of Osiris for PC." And they're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I don't want to buy that either. Guess we're not playing." Like it's really not looking good. But I have season pass for Xbox, and I'm going to get on that.
Mm.
I'm going to try to get on that a little bit more this next coming week.
Right.
So.
Right. And now that we've gotten like wildly off topic and just
Yes.
have been complaining about stuff,
We need to wrap this up in a couple minutes.
I know you haven't completed the end game, or you haven't completed the campaign, but if you do want to get into some of that lore that's going on, this is kind of cool and kind of terrible at the same time. If you go to Tess Eververse, right? If you go to the Eververse store, or Tess Eververse store. There we go.
Yeah.
If you go to Tess and you inspect the Bride Engrams, there is a ton of exotic ships, things like that all have lore tabs. And so, not to get you too excited here, but there's some lore concerning Osiris, there's some lore concerning Saint 14. There's a lot of lore that you can go look at in the Eververse store.
Oh, cool.
Now, that being said, yeah, that's awesome, right? More lore. That's really cool. All the lore tabs on all these exotics are actually
Don't
really
even have
cool.
to buy it.
And I'll send you a link. Actually, yeah, there's some like super deep lore that goes into these. Like, whoever the lore writers are, they are doing a spectacular job. It's very cryptic, very deep. It takes a while for you to actually like decode even the simpler ones, what they're actually trying to say. And again, I won't spoil it for people who want to go read it and kind of discover on their own. But if you have questions about it, like, I would love to talk about it with anyone. What's going on? Anyway, so awesome that they are including the lore. Now, it's in the Eververse store.
Yeah.
There are a ton of items in this game that are locked in the Eververse store. Like,
yeah, pretty much everything that we could ever want out of a raid completion, or a Nightfall completion, or a Trials completion. It's in the Eververse store, which really sucks. It wasn't for me, but for a lot of people, that was the reason why they would chase after that. That's why the reason why someone would, go so far as to solo Nightfall to try and get the rewards because they didn't have anybody to play with. Like, it's a huge motivator, and I don't think they get how demotivating putting that behind a paywall is.
Yeah, I completely agree. And for me, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a hunter main, and so obviously I want my hunter to look absolutely the best he possibly can.
Yep.
But for me, like, the exotic, or excuse me, the ships, the exotic ships, sparrows, things like that, were never a huge deal. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I need to keep running. Okay, actually, I take that back. Crota with the Glowhoo shader, I definitely ran until I got that, and I was like, all right, cool, I can stop running this raid now. But I kept running because it was fun. But like, that was the one thing I really wanted. There's not anything right now in Eververse that I feel like I have to have. But I completely agree with you that there are definitely people out there that's their thing. And now it's like, well, I can just grind any event and get XP and do this, or I can throw some cash at the screen and try and, gamble my way to it.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
sucks.
The biggest loss from switching from a system where it's merit-based to a system that is, random rolled, or because, what is it, slots based, is that whenever you wore the Glowhu, that said, I beat the Crota raid.
Right.
If you wear the Callus shader, that says nothing. It says you got lucky. It says you put some
Or
money
you were
into
in a
it.
clan.
Or you grinded out enough bright engrams. Like, that says nothing. And no one cares about something that says nothing.
That's, for me, even, like, if you were running around the tower year one, and you saw somebody with a thorn on their hip, you're like, oh shit, like, that guy worked for that freaking weapon right there, Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, the merit-based stuff really... Yeah. It's not necessarily like I've never been someone that's like, oh, I need to show off my accomplishments or anything like that. The only thing that I ever really was like took pride in showing off is I always used my year one triumphs, and I still use like my year one triumphs emblem. Right? I always have that thing on because I'm like, you motherfuckers, you newbies. Yeah, you don't even know. You don't even know what we went through in year one. All right. So I agree with you. Like, you wear that stuff and you have that stuff basically to show, like, oh, you're like, oh man, that guy, he's done, like, he's seen some shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, there are no accomplishments in Destiny 2.
They're few and far between. I'll give you that.
I mean, you get the emblem for the prestige raid,
and that's about it.
That's it.
Yeah,
there are
totally
no
not worth it in my opinion.
Flipping accomplishments in Destiny 2. And wow, this podcast has been way more like revelatory for me than I expected.
Oh god, like
You're
hearing. All right, so the sound you're hearing, everyone. This is Kraken's heart breaking right now.
No,
Destiny.
Don't
Kraken
worry.
Ball's Destiny heart is just shattering across the floor right now.
I'm gonna bury that feeling deep because I'm still holding out. I am still addicted, to the heroin that is Destiny, and I still am hoping that it'll be a good experience next time.
Okay, well, this is your intervention. Apparently, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
And on that, for more of your intervention, did you see the thing where now they're advertising for a senior designer for the Bright Engram chase on Bungie's website?
Let's not.
It is a legit job posting for a senior designer to build, to create sustainable player progression and chase through the use of Bright Engrams. Like that's verbatim from the job posting.
That is a job posting that says some manager somewhere says, I refuse to entertain this feedback and entertain reverting the systems, and so I am going to use budgetary funds to go find someone that'll make it work. Whether or not that person exists.
Hey, whatever. I don't have the qualifications for it, but if Bungie will let me do it, I will go in there and subvert the system from the inside and get paid to do it.
But the system is flawed for all the reasons we just talked about. Like that's not a position that can succeed.
That's okay. I will get paid to go down on the burning ship. And it does. Wait, burning ship? That's okay. Whatever. That was a terrible.
Yeah. No, we understood.
I just realized that.
I hope you get that job if theoretically if you go for it. But all this tells us is that Bungie isn't hearing us.
At least at some level. I really feel like the devs, and even to an extent like Deej and Luke Smith, like I honestly think Luke Smith has really good intentions. He's just an idiot.
Yeah.
Like as far as like speaking, like I don't think
not
he's
an idiot.
Person. I feel like he's
a flawed human like everyone else. But
yeah, but I just really feel like he has good intentions and really wants the game to succeed and wants the player base to be happy. But they should just never put a microphone in front of him. Like I just completely done.
Yeah.
But I really feel like I agree with you. Like I feel like there is a level of management in Bungie that's just like moneybags from Monopoly or Scrooge McDuck or whatever. They're just like, all right, how hard can we squeeze our players for cash?
Well,
and it makes me sad inside.
yeah. Yep. I wish we could end it on a positive note, but we have
Give me a
run.
second. I can probably come up with one.
Okay, Flashpoint. Flashpoint, no face.
Oh, snap. Like, how many public events do I have to run to make them
No,
positive?
no, just one. Just one.
Oh, just one?
Shoot
Okay,
for it.
hang on. Positive thing about the release of DLC. Oh, okay. So actually, no, we do have a positive coming up. We have a positive coming up. It's not here yet, but we do have those December 12th updates coming out. Which, again,
Masterworks?
I feel, because that's the sandbox updates are coming up on the 12th. And so, again, that's an opportunity for a lot of things to get tweaked towards the direction we want. So maybe this isn't necessarily a positive point, but it is hope, right? Is the light at the end of the tunnel. Don't know if it's the exit or the train, right? But there's a light in the tunnel. Right?
Yeah.
So these sandbox updates, I feel like, could change PvP tremendously for the better. It's possible.
Hopefully. I don't
Fingers
know if
crossed.
I'm going to find out. But the December 12th update, to continue with that positive note, is going to contain Masterworks, which is going to give you a random buff on any of the stats of the gun, as well as orbs on
Yeah,
multi-kills.
giant orbs.
Yep. And then Raid and Trials gears will have high chances for Masterwork drops. We're going to have purchasable faction gear. We're going to have faded engrams and a new 3 of coins, which is awesome. Party loot buffs for the entire party in both Strikes and Crucible. We're going to have fast loot limits relaxed, so that when you're going for the faction coins or the tokens, you're instead of if you chain them together, you're going to have a 30% chance to get them instead of a 0% chance, which will be nice. We'll have a 1 of 3 chance to get something from a chest instead of nothing. And then and the last one is just super cosmetic. The vendors will only pulse if we have an upgrade available or a reward
I can't
available.
wait for that.
So yeah, it's going to save me time because I have that compulsion to go in and clear all the vendors before I leave the tower. Well, that about wraps it up. Thank you for listening. It's been a long one. We talked about a lot of things.
Very happy one though.
We talked about a lot of things I didn't expect to talk about. Personally, I'm still semi-optimistic. I mean, I've trusted Bungie in the past, and that's paid off. There's a chance that it may not pay off this time, but Destiny 1 was great. I'm sure that they can turn it into something good.
And again, I want to say just one thing. I realized at the end of the episode, so probably people have turned off and discussed already at this point. But the one thing I will say is that for $20 if you're on the fence, if you haven't bought the DLC, for $20, I honestly feel like it's a good buy. You will get 8 to 10 hours out of it, probably pretty easily. So I feel like for $20, if you're on the fence about getting the DLC and you enjoyed the campaign of Destiny 2, you enjoyed those first 15-20 hours of Destiny 2, you'll enjoy the first 10 hours of the DLC as well. So that's my positive. It is a worthwhile buy, in my opinion.
Yes. You can contact us at DeltaCo Fireteam Chat at gmail.com or on Twitter at DeltaCo_71. Let us know in the comments how you liked the episode, and if we went on too long, that's information we already know. We hope you're having fun in Destiny, and we'd like to thank you for listening. Have a good night.
And we swear audio will be back next week, so we'll actually have more organization.
And we'll actually stick to maybe 35 minutes instead of 50. So.
Probably not.
All right. Have a great one, everyone.
Good night, folks.